I'm just really excited this morning. I'm always excited on Sunday mornings, but I'm really excited this morning because my friends David and Deborah from South Daytona Beach, Florida are here. And the story is that about 8 years ago in the springtime, I decided that I was going to go down to Eustis, Florida and take a class through Holmes Institute and sort of make a decision based on my experience of that class and whether or not I wanted to step all the way into ministerial school and becoming an ordained minister. And two of the people that I met in that first class are David and Deborah. They're here with us today. They have a center in Daytona Beach. They are the co-ministers of that center. And I guess what I would tell you about is that I've had a colorful life and I've done some incredible things. And one of the most favorite things is a couple of years ago, some of us went to the integration in New Orleans, and we had a really great time. And part of the reason we had such a great time is that Mike and I and David and Deborah all shared a room together. Okay, probably not in all denominations would you find yourself doing that, but it was a lot of fun, and it's always just been so colorful. These people opened their homes and their hearts and their resources and their love to us, because they were an hour and a half away from campus and the rest of us were 12 and a half hours away from home. And, you know, we slept on their floor, we slept in their beds, we slept with their dogs, we slept in their back porch, we swam in the pool and got in the hot tub and played. And also, conversely, I have to tell you that the only reason I have any understanding of quantum science today and really how science of mind works, because we know that science of mind is quantum science, isn't it? It really is, okay? For those of you who have taken foundations, you know that, okay? You remember that from our teachings. The only reason I have any understanding of it is because of these two people here. I was getting ready to flunk out of school and called them one day and they said, well, let's just talk about that, and now I know. So I love you guys. Welcome to OpenDoor Center. We're so excited to have you here.
Are you going to be able to hear me okay without this? No? You need this? Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, and it's on. Can you hear me then now? I don't sound any different to myself. We are really glad to be here too. We love Barbara dearly, and that is evidenced in the fact that we're really here on vacation.
We won't tell any more stories.
Can you hear David okay? Well, I will. I'll tell one. We came a couple days ago to get the cabin ready that we're staying in, and our kids just got here last night. But when we called Barbara and said, can you get together for lunch? Can you come up to Cosby and see us? She said, oh, good. Will you speak? And we said, well, we were thinking lunch. And she said, I'm thinking speaking. And we said, okay, anything for you. We love her. She's wonderful. And you are so blessed to have her. Why? Because she's truly genuine. She's truly genuine. So, enough Barbara stuff.
I'm sorry.
You're multitasking. Because you're truly genuine and you do what you need to do. That's great. And Betty, thank you for that. Thank you for that reading. That was awesome. And the will of God is harmony. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Living in harmony. And harmony is a God quality. It is about the will of God to live in harmony. And so each one of us has the opportunity to look at what does harmony mean for you, because it doesn't mean in our individual life the same exact thing for every person. In God, in the world, within, it's the same feeling that we end up having, the same experience of harmony. But it shows up in so many unique and beautiful ways, each one of us getting to express those ways. So one of my ways is nature. I love nature, so I love where you live. I think that you are so blessed to wake up every morning to a crisp, moist, cool, vibrant green space. It's just gorgeous up here. And so I wake up every day happy. I wake up every day just ever so glad that I'm alive, glad to enjoy this moment, glad to be in this teaching where I know that I get to choose how my day is. And my day is not determined by what's going on in my life, what's happening. What's happening is going to be happening. And I can do it happy or I can do it miserable. And that choice is mine. And to wake up and know that every day is just such a blessing. That is harmony. To get up and look at the little creek outside the cabin and to just sit there and watch it flow by. That's harmony. That restores the soul. That's something we need to do. Take time to be in nature, at least for me. Now, each of you is probably thinking about what it is for you, and maybe yours is to sit by a creek and look at the green trees too. Obviously, or you probably wouldn't live here. The other thing for me is my beautiful dog. I know, cat people, right? How many are cat people like Barbara here? Are there any other dog people here? Oh, good, okay. Don't they have it down pat? They have it down pat, a harmonized life, a perfect way of living. My dog gets up in the morning after a great night's sleep on her very cushy, great big bed, and she goes outside in her little doggy door and surveys her area. She just looks around, maybe chases a few birds or chameleons, or watches the squirrels run across the fence and wishes she could get to those. And then she comes back in and has her breakfast, and then she has a little nap. And after a nap, she probably goes back out again and checks things out, or maybe she sunbathes. She loves to go out there and just lay in the sun for a while, and then she gets too hot, so she just comes back in and lays down in the cool, and once again, what? Takes a nap. Takes another nap, and then pretty soon dinner time comes, and she has her dinner, and then she probably goes outside for a little bit more, looks around, and comes back in, has another nap, and eventually goes back to her nice, cozy bed. Perfect life, yes? For her, perfect life. And every single one of us gets to decide how we do that, how we do our day. And so that's beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And there's a story about this couple, husband and wife, married about 50 years, and they're out on their porch, sitting in their rockers, just looking at nature probably, and both feeling very peaceful and in harmonized quality of life. And the husband says to the wife, you know, every time I ever get mad at you, you never seem to get upset. I just haven't been able to figure that out. How do you do that? And she says, well, I just go in and clean the toilet. And he sits there for a minute and he thinks, oh, 50 years I have not known how she keeps her tranquility, her harmony so generated despite my personality. But I really don't understand how cleaning the toilet will do it. So he asks her, how does cleaning the toilet help you stay harmonized? And she says, I use your toothbrush. Now we must admit that's a choice.
I haven't brushed my teeth since she read it.
That is a choice. So I love the dictionary, and especially for these signs of mind words, like God, the quality of God being harmony. So what really is harmony? If we want harmony, we have to know exactly what it is and get clarity with what it is we're directing ourselves toward. Because it truly isn't, the sitting in nature is not the harmony. The harmony is the resonation that I feel because of the oneness of that life, right? Whatever we're doing. And so the definition, the dictionary definition of harmony is order or congruity of parts to their whole or to one another. Now that's signs of mind. Congruity of the parts to the whole. Each one of us an individualized expression of the one, the whole. Each of us in congruence to the degree that we accept it, claim it, and live it. Yes? Congruence in math means same size, same shape. And congruence for us is to remind us that we are the same as God. We are made in the image and likeness of God itself. Therefore, there is nothing that we must do or change in order to have that harmony. It's right here where we are all the time, available to each one of us. God is one perfect body of life, experiencing diversity. How beautiful is that? You gonna see if you need it or not?
I have a musical background, and I taught music for many years. And something I always taught my students was about harmony. And there's a difference between harmony and unity and unison. And we you know, to have harmony, you have to have more than one part. And sometimes those parts are dissonant, and sometimes those parts kind of blend together. But without two parts, you can't have harmony. One person cannot produce harmony by themselves. You have to have more than one. And so it's really important. Harmony sounds better to me than unity and in unison. And I think it's more fun to do that. And it's more fun to join together as one, do our individual parts. And you notice in a band or an orchestra or a choir even, where there's all these individual parts, and a bassoon doesn't sound like a trombone, and clarinet doesn't sound like a flute, but they join all together and make beautiful sounds together that is greater than the sum of its parts. Some of the parts are greater than the individuals. And so it's really a beautiful energy to be harmonic, to be in harmony rather than to be in unison. And I think so many times we look in society and we think about the idea of coming together and being one. But we think that for everybody to be one, we all have to do exactly the same thing. That's not harmony. That's unison. And that's boring. And I think it's important for us to be able to realize and look out to other spiritual organizations, different racial organizations, and you know, and there's a lot of stuff happening right now in society, right? Having to do with all those topics, and everybody's saying, well, this is my thing to do, and I don't want to be people to tell me I have to do it otherwise. And that's, in some ways, that's very good. And it's also there. What's more important, though, is for us to understand the common ground that we all stand upon, and celebrate that, and use our diversity to create richness in our environment. And so I think that's important. I have been doing a lot of study about this recently, and I've been studying the law of entrainment. I think it's absolutely fascinating. Does anybody know that law? In 1665, Dutch scientist Christian Huygens described something which he called the law of entrainment. He had these pendulum clocks, and he put them on the wall, and he realized after a short period of time the two pendulums on the clocks would actually start going at the same way at the same time. And he called that the law of entrainment. Now, Huygens was a scientist, and as a materialistic mechanical scientist, he realized there's no way that could actually happen. If they're both synchronized, and if each clock was calibrated correctly, they should never come into sync. Once one is set, it should always keep going exactly the same way. No, if the other one is set, they should always keep going the same way, because they're extremely precise mechanical instruments. For some reason, if those two clocks were in proximity, after a while they would start to work together and do exactly the same thing. Isn't that fascinating?
Oh, yeah.
And this experiment was tried over and over and over again with pendulums, and they found that they always do the same thing. After a short period of time, I don't know how long the time it is, but after a period of time, if they were in close proximity, they would entrain. It's called the law of entrainment. Now, that law of entrainment is actually applied to a lot of things. Biological, celestial, mechanical, musical, in a lot of different areas. It's believed to have some importance in circadian cycles, and they found that they take plants and put them in the darkness, and at a certain period of time when the sun rises, those plants that are in the darkness will actually turn their leaves to capture the sun, even though they're in the dark. They don't know the sun's there, but there's something in them that translates or is related to them from all the other plants believed in the area, and so therefore they have this natural cycle where they actually know what to do when. There's nothing mechanical about that. There's some inner knowing, there's some idea within that tells them that is theirs to do. So that's really fascinating. It says that any two vibrating bodies will entrain if exposed to each other for long enough, including humans. The law of entrainment requires that two resonances or vibrations existing in the same location must adjust and combine to have a single resonance. So all of us joining together in this space at this time join together with one common thought, one common idea, and we all agree, generally speaking, even though some of us will have some different theological opinions and upbringings and so on, I think most of us here in this space have a pretty profound agreement. And you'll notice sometimes somebody else will come into the space. If you're having a meeting or having a class or having a discussion, somebody else will come into this situation, and there is suddenly a shift in energy in the room. Have you felt that experience? And what's happening, that shift, that unrest that's happening is what you're adjusting to a new vibration that has entered into the room. And so it takes a little bit of time, and after that person is in the room for a little bit, then everybody starts agreeing, everybody starts talking, and we get back in the conversation again, and all of a sudden we're all entrained. We're all having the same energy. Isn't that fascinating? What's important to understand is you're not being pulled into something by entrainment. You are actually tuning in to some energy that is already there. And you have a choice. You can tune in or not. You're always a free will. You can tune into the energy is there, or you can hold your energy and be dissonant to it. It's a choice. And you're responsible for the energy that you bring into the room. And if the room is happy and all of a sudden you come in and it's not happy anymore, well, they may be trying really hard to entrain with you, and as long as you hold that energy, there's going to be a dissonance involved. So remember that tuning in brings you actually to your natural state of being. Tuning into the energy that is in the room will bring you to your natural state of being, and you will allow yourself to be a part of the situation. Isn't that fascinating? There's another idea that's very similar to this. Have you heard of Rupert Sheldrake? I know Barbara has. Rupert Sheldrake talks about morphogenetic fields. And he wasn't the first person to talk about that, but he uses it in his ideas, his concepts. He talks more specifically, and the idea he came up with is called morphic resonance. And morphic resonance is the idea that there's an overpowering energy in the atmosphere, and we are all part of that energy. There's an energy that flows. It's not something that is undermining or overarching, but something that's kind of intrinsic, and we're all part of it. It's like radio waves that can go through the walls and be a part of everything that it becomes. And so it translates to all of us. Morphic resonance is similar to Carl Jung's idea of collective unconsciousness or race consciousness. And Carl Jung said that he stated that minds are not confined to brains, and he says that liberating minds from confinement in the heads is like being released from prison. The idea that our brains and our thoughts and our ideas are in our head is a wrong idea. The truth of it is that we're all interconnected with this morphic field. We're all interconnected with a morphic resonance. And those ideas come into our minds. Our heads, our brains don't hold anything. They're mechanical mechanisms to make our body work in certain ways. But our actual thoughts or actual ideas don't come from the brain. They come from the mind, which is beyond that, which is metaphysical, beyond the physical. The brain is a physical thing. The mind is something that's not physical, and is something that connects all of us. There's also this idea of DNA that I think when he talks about morphic resonance, he talks about how it works in DNA. And we have the idea in science that DNA is the smallest thing, and it controls everything. It's the structure of DNA. Controls our lives and controls everything about us, what we inherit, and so on from our ancestors. Well, he says that DNA is actually a byproduct of morphic resonance, and the morphic resonance creates DNA to be a mechanism to bring into manifestation those things that are in our thoughts. So our thoughts don't come from the DNA. The DNA comes from our thoughts. Our thoughts actually create the DNA to bring out the things that we want to accomplish in our lives. Isn't that fascinating?
Yeah.
Wow. So, another stage that I want to talk about too is the thing called the Global Consciousness Project. And it proves that we're all part of one global idea and one global energy. Everybody know that? That Global Consciousness Project, they have 70 sites around the world where they have random number generators. And these random number generators just go between 1 and 0, 1 and 0, 1 and 0, 1 and 0. And if they're left alone, they run pretty much equal between 1s and 0s because it's completely random. But they found that if you meditate in the in the vicinity of a number generator, it will actually begin to create sequences. It'll create more ones than more zeros, depending on what kind of energy you put into it. Well, they put these 70 random number generators all over the world. And what they found is when there are moments of great upheaval or great excitement or great energy anywhere on the planet, as soon as it becomes critical mass, and it's like on all the TV channels, like on CNN, constantly negative news, and it gets transmuted all the way through the world. At that one moment, those random number generators all kind of start to fall into sequence, and they all begin to fall in together. And they'll check out the one in Singapore and the one in California, whatever, and they'll find that they're all doing exactly the same thing, and all of them will register numbers in sequence as opposed to be totally random. And if they found that this is not haphazard and not just what is the word? Random. It's not random. They found that when they look up like 9/11 and the inauguration of the U.S. presidents and the weddings of English royalty and tsunamis and earthquakes and things that are globally effective, they find that each time those things, and all 70 of those global random number generators fall into sequence. It's proving that there is an energy all around the world that we all relate to and we all feel a part of, and it's moving through us at all times. And so that proves that there is an harmony, there is an energy of which we can tap into to join together. We all have our individualized ideas who we are, and that's really important because I'm a trombone and you're a flute. But we all join together and orchestrate a world that works better for all.
So lots of evidence, huh? Lots of evidence for it. So then the question becomes, do you want it? Do you want to experience that harmony? Do you want to experience that oneness? That's a question.
Yes.
Do you really?
Yes.
Yes, really and truly?
When it's positive.
Yes.
Okay, there's something that you must do. There is something you must do to have harmony. And we teach in Science of Mind that you don't have to do anything, be anything, it's already there. It is already there. But there is something that we must do because we are physical beings. And that something that we must do is align our mind with God. And you think to yourself, oh, well, that's simple, that's it. And then you go out in life, and someone was just telling us today, who was it, that a car pulled right out in front. Yeah, that a car just pulled right out in front of her. And I know on our road, on our drive down, we were going, oh, I was going, oh, we're between cement block and an 18-wheeler, oh. We get out there in life and things happen, right? And our mind that's connected to the one says something different. And then we say, oh, well, I don't know why my life isn't perfectly harmonic. Oh, yes, we do. Yes, we do. We have to go really deep with God. And that is what we have to do. And that, for me, is one of the greatest joys when I get up in the morning. That nature that I was talking about at the beginning of the talk, it is us. It is right where we are. We, each one of us, are created in the image and likeness of that perfect harmony. Harmony is a God quality. We are that love. We are that peace. We are that abundance. You are, I am, that harmony. And it is for us to get as good as the random number generators at showing it, at demonstrating it. Getting as good at the pendulum swings, so that when we bump, we don't bump into each other, but rather we sway together. Yes? It is for us to do that, and how joyous it is. Does it sometimes take a little effort? Yes. Do we have to learn other skills such as forgiveness and pure love? Someone once said to me, I don't know why you're upset at me, but I will do what it takes because I would rather be in love than in discord. And me sitting there having my little pity party, Had nothing to say because I had always experienced someone coming at me and me having to defend whatever they said. And that was years ago, and it was one of the greatest lessons I had in life. It totally changed the way that I talk with people, the way that I relate with people. And each one of us has that opportunity to just love one another, because whoever you're looking at, whatever you're thinking about that person is you. And so the degree that we are able to see God in one another and to love that God and to let some of the things fall away and to walk away for the things that don't feel harmonic for us, that don't allow us to be in harmony. And maybe even to say, what is this for me? Why am I feeling this discord? Because it's really never the other person. It's never what someone else is doing or saying. It's the buttons in us that are being pushed. And when we get that, our relationships blossom because we're able to not point a finger. Remember that saying, when you point a finger, 3 point back at you? I think God planned that one really well, because it's always true. What is this about me? How can I show up differently to love everyone around me so that everyone around me and me can live harmony, not just be it at the center of our being?
Yeah.
And so, I have one more story I want to tell you. And there was a lady in a church, and she found herself in such a situation of turmoil and chaos that she called a friend long distance who didn't know the fellow members at her church, and she said, I don't know what's happening to my church. I'm in such distress. It's like the Hatfields and the McCoys. The deacons are fighting with the priest, and it just seems like everybody hates each other. And the long-distance friend said, well, tell me the name of your church, and I'll put it on our prayer list at my church. And she said, oh, absolutely, I would love that. It's called Harmony Baptist Church. We already have that harmony. It is for us to live it, to claim it, to live it, to know God at the deepest level of our being that we're able to in this moment, and to grow ourselves into a deeper understanding of God. Because harmony is a quality of God that is right where we are all the time. And so let us end today with a Gandhi quote, and then we'd like to sing a song to you. The Gandhi quote is, happiness is when what you think, what you say, and what you do are in harmony. Namaste.